What's the single most important item in your home that has a value of $1 or less? A rock shaped like a heart. My fiance and I took a trip to Poland and Greece. I bought her a heart-shaped rock from a salt mine in Poland. Didn't cost $1. But at a red sand beach in Greece 4 days later, she found a rock that was shaped perfectly like a heart. This one was free. Both rocks now sit next to each other in our house we just bought. Also, one rock is dark and the other red. I so happen to have red hair, and she has dark hair. She found the red heart rock for free, and I bought the salt rock. My collection of old dog tags, literally dogs. I have all my 4-legged dog tags since I was 9. I'm 54 now. I have it in my will to be buried with these, adding to the list of things I wish I had done. It's never too late. A ratty teddy bear passed down from my much older brothers to me is the only item I have that survived my insane childhood. Sounds like he makes a great balloon. A matchstick. I had a door that was sagging in my house due to the screw over time wearing a larger hole in the wall. And after some research I found a tip that shoving a matchstick with the tip broken off inside and a dab of glue could make the hole smaller. That matchstick was worth its weight in gold. So about $1. After it helped me fix a huge annoyance. Alternately toothpicks or a wooden golf tee. My door came off its hinges because the screws stripped the holes from decades of use. Very old house, and this is how I fixed it. Wooden golf tees in the hole and toothpicks in the remaining gaps. Sand the broken end down once dry, and you've got a brand new surface to drill. The book that my grandma used to read to me, it's worthless. Wasn't even listed on Goodreads until I added it. But she died in 2005, the day after my 8th birthday, and remembering her voice reading it is one of the clearest memories I have. Would definitely save it in a fire. What book is it? C.A.T. Crusoe by Mark Burgess, about a sophisticated cat that is shipwrecked and meets a band of giant pirate mice. Laugh. One time, about 5 years into our relationship, my girlfriend, now wife, and I were in separate rooms in our 1-bedroom apartment in early December. From the other room, she hollered to me, "What do you want for Christmas?" I had been working full-time, taking part-time university classes to finish my degree, and had been volunteering as part of a youth mentor program. So I said all I really want is a break. 3 weeks later, I'm unwrapping a very heavy show box. After getting through the mountain of duct tape and several layers of wrapping paper, I had my very own brick. "I really didn't understand what you wanted it for," she said, "but you sounded so sure of it. So here you go." Cue about 10 minutes of laughs. And now that brick sits proudly on my desk. Every time I'm overwhelmed or feeling like I've taken on too much, I look at it, pick it up, have a little laugh, and put it back so I can carry on. Best gift ever. That's an incredibly sweet story. Thanks for sharing. A best brother in the world pin from my brother who passed away. He gave it to me when he was 6. Edit. Thanks everyone, it means a lot. It was a few years ago, and I've made peace. I hope has happy. For all you still suffering, I hope you get through it. It gets better. That's very sweet and heartwarming, and I'm very sorry for your loss. Speaking of brother, I have kept the loop bands that my youngest brother gave to me 6 years ago. He was just 10 when he made it. Just a mediocre rubber band bracelet that I brought with me to study and live abroad. I kept it together with his favorite shirt that he also sneakily tucked in my luggage. Edit, a word. My son found a rock on the way home from school in kindergarten. We were walking home through this park we always cut through, and he grabbed the rock and fell in love with it. It just looked like mud to me, but who cares, he loved it. When we got home I helped him wash it off in the sink, and it was black and kinda bluish. He said it was awesome, and then gave it to me. It's one of my most precious things in the world to me. Oh, that's adorable. My stepdaughter loved gifting me rocks. I've kept quite a few. One of my favorites is a rose quartz she actually found on a hike in the mountains. It looked like a regular rock, but after we cleaned it up, I noticed it looked like quartz. I asked my friend, who collects minerals, and she told us what it was. I thought that was just absolutely amazing. My stepdaughter used to give me rocks too, but I wish she would have handed them to me rather than leaving them in her pockets. had to go through the wash. I remember asking her why she didn't clean out her pockets, and she said she thought I might like a little surprise while I was doing laundry. I have a $1 bill saved and put away in a drawer. The significance behind it is it was my last dollar before I decided to stop gambling and doing hard drugs. I had to stop cold turkey. I was so fucking done being a half human or an empty shell. At first it was just $1 that sat in my center console in my car. I would look at it and be reminded what I was doing. I've been sober for well over a year now. I feel like that $1 is special. I know in Narcotics Anonymous they get something saying how long they've been sober or whatever. That $1 is my token. My token for fighting a silent battle that I cannot share with people, otherwise I could lose my job. When I was 4 or 5, the last time I ever saw my great grandmother, she gave me a $1 bill and said, as long as you keep this dollar you'll never be broke. I spent it the next day on some candy. That may be my biggest regret. Hey you. That's a beautiful story and you sound like a loving great grandchild. Just a thought. Ever tried sitting down and forgiving yourself? Like, not just saying it in passing. Actually going through the mental process. Picturing the tiny clueless human being you were back then and forgiving them. You were 4 or 5. You were tiny and you couldn't have known better. Your great grandma loved you. Gave your little adorable self $1. And I may not know her, but I'm pretty sure that as any loving great grandma, she probably would have shook her head smiling widely seeing you spend that $1 the very next day on some candy and stuffing your rosy cheeks with some candy that made you happy. She knew you would. If you gave a 4-year-old $1 with some wisdom on top, would you expect them to keep it forever? Of course not. Gentleness was exchanged. Memories were made. Could you even be mad at that cute little thing that you were? Seeing yourself through Grand's eyes? It's all fine. It's in fact absolutely beautiful. I know when you say that it's your biggest regret, you probably aren't waking up in sweat and horror every night thinking about this and all, and it may be a bit of a hyperbole. Sure, you're fine. But honestly, I hope you can genuinely forgive your little self. Because you deserve it. I sometimes find little actions like that and putting myself in the shoes of my childhood self profoundly helpful and quite lovely. We carry a bunch of weight with us which doesn't serve us. It adds up. It's nice to offload some weight sometimes. Take care over there. When I was a very small kid, and we were very poor, my parents bought me a small teddy bear. That teddy bear is now more than 20 years old, but is the most precious gift I have. There's a picture of my wife and I with our adopted daughter. The picture was taken when she was around 13 or so, but we didn't adopt her until she was 16. When we took, it was just us and a kid we kind of knew from church. It's so cool to look back on and see how far we've come. Edit. Thanks for the awards and the kind comments, but I can promise you, we've gotten way more out of her living with us than she has. She's an amazing human being. If you'd like to read the story, check the comments below. You didn't just bring her home from church suddenly one day, did you? Nah, you make that mistake more than 2 or 3 times and they start looking at you funny. Handwritten letters from my grandmother who passed away a few years ago. While it is sad to see her handwriting get progressively worse for each letter at the end, it is nice to have something that was that close to her. I have them stored in a small box and it always goes into our evacuation bag during fire season. I got this complimentary little webcam cover that slides back and forth over the camera lens on my laptop. It's saved me from making a fool of myself on Zoom many times now. I got this goodie bag for participating in this one event, and it had a webcam cover in it. Now every day I thank this little guy for helping me during online classes, or just for helping me to keep the privacy. We've all heard about that teacher who accidentally turned her camera on while shitting in a Zoom class/meeting. Suddenly we all want one of these. Nail file with the bit that gets the grit out of your nails. I have to take pills for tension headaches or I can barely function. I get really dizzy. One pill costs $1. So when a tension headache flares up and I'm dizzy and sick feeling, there is no better dollar spent than on that pill. I get tension headaches too. They suck. Is the pill you take recipe or OTC? I may spell this wrong, but it's something like sumatriptan. A single post-it note folded into a paper airplane with the words, "Will you be my boyfriend?" and two check boxes labeled yes and yes. Here's my husband now. I have a fortune cookie note in my wallet that says you and your spouse will have a happy life together. It was a second date. We have been happily married 24 years. It has been a very happy life. Dad's straw gardening hat. It's torn and worn. But he died 2 years ago, and it reminds me of him when I wear it. My dad used to make these wire puzzle toys. I have the wire, and I can make more of them. But the ones he made are priceless. Gang shit, my great grandma always made these for us when we were kids. I couldn't make one, but I run across one here and there and it always makes me smile. I have a heart-shaped rock that is about the size of a quarter. My son gave it to me when he was 3 and told me to keep it forever. I have it in my back pocket daily. My mother passed away before my high school graduation. I had just gotten a job out of high school as a support tech for Apple when one of my older colleagues asked if I had $1 as he was practicing origami. I gave him the dollar and let him get to work making whatever he could for me. When my mom passed, as most people do, we symbolize the butterfly as a birth of her spirit keeping with us. Amazing how many butterflies you start to see when you lose a loved one. But at the end of my shift he returned it to me, a perfectly folded butterfly with my dollar. I cried very happy tears right to him and still have that dollar 15 years later in my wallet with me everywhere. Dude doesn't realize what a treat that was at the time. The Donovan. It's a $1 bill with a picture of ex-UF basketball coach Billy Donovan taped over the president. It was a single dollar a friend and I would butt back and forth that we would bet on different things. It's a trophy we have passed back and forth over the last 20 years. It's an item that has kept us in touch. The fact that you have misspelled Donovan twice makes me think you really believe he's called Donovan, and I just had to point that out for my own peace of mind. P.S. Love the story behind it. By the way, at least it was a consistent error. My dog Ziggy. I found him in a box outside of a liquor store. He was 6-week pit bull covered on mange. I took him home, bathed him twice a day every day for weeks to get the mange to go away. 4 years later here's the best boy with a full beautiful coat. I got this one for free, so I'm just gonna say this one. A piece of clay. The clay specifically has my dead cat's paw print in it, so it'd say I can answer this with the clay. I have one of those for my dog. I love the vet's offices that do this. My wife and I had to put our pug down a few years back. The vet sent us a clay paw print in the mail. It's my wife's prized possession. We bought a frame for it and are going to make a little shrine. A tiny paper crane a Japanese grandmother gave me when I was in Osaka at a museum. She worked there and was waiting for tourists to come play an educational board game with her. She got no interest, obviously. I reluctantly sat down and played after she caught me on my own with a smile and a beckoning wave. Even though we couldn't speak each other's language and I kept messing up, she was so kind to me, so happy that I sat with her. She made me deal with my impatience and sit with the distress I was feeling that day by slowing me down and making me do something plain and simple. When we were done she gave me a tiny paper crane from the pile she had made to give to all the tourists that should have sat with her and didn't. It made me really sad and really happy I'd met her, and I hope she's doing well. This is why I'd also sit with the old people that ran the themed stations at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. I was there once a week for a while and sometimes it hit every single station, so the 80-plus-year-old person there would have someone to talk to. I'm already looking forward to being an old docent at a museum and talking to people like you. I'm in my mid-40s and have always loved talking to older people. I had a friend that was in WW2, US Army, and he had the best stories and a ton of Nazi stuff that he took from soldiers he killed. Dude was a straight up badass airborne ranger that was part of the Alsace death camp liberation. Met the guy while working in the mall. Just a lonely man walking around talking to young people. I have one of the bullet casings from my grandfather's military funeral from the 21 gun salute. I don't really know its value, but I got it for free. My mother, cousins, aunts/uncles, and I on that side of the family each received one. I have one as well. The cost of it was probably less than $0.40. The value however is immeasurable. On the 4th of July, my sister and dad found a kitten in our barn. He was tiny and looked like he was on death's front door. He ended up losing most of his hair and had to go through several rounds of antibiotics. Today, he's a happy, healthy, and spoiled boy. His hair grew back and he has such a silly personality. We are so thankful we found Alec that day. He adds so much spice to our life and plays and cuddles with our pit mix. To us he's priceless. But he was free when we found him. Edit. Thanks for my first silver, kind stranger. I've been working from home, and as my employer, like many others, are soul-sucking demons not fit for this earth. They track you in just about every way possible, because it's simply inconceivable to think people would just do the work they're paid to do, regardless of the setting they're in. If I don't interact with the computer for more than 5 minutes it registers me as away. Heavens forbid I have to poop or something. I got spoken to the very first week of WFH and told you have to be available during work hours by a supervisor who is seemingly never available but was blind to the irony I guess. In any event, I found that if you navigate to a certain portion of our 1970s software you can endlessly type. I promptly went outside and found the rock which now holds down my spacebar for me anytime I need to walk away for a minute. That rock is, in my eyes, now one of the most important objects in my world, and it was free. I have an optical mouse. I place it on top of an small old analog desk clock I've had since forever. The second hand moves across the sensor and the pointer moves just the slightest bit. A watch can work, too. Brilliant. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.